6.2-1090, warning devices on school buses, other buses, use thereof, and penalties. The first part of this is more of a restriction on the driver. Such warning devices shall be used in operation. So this means that the amber light notice, if it is under 35 miles an hour, the bus driver only has to give you 100 feet of amber light notice prior to their stop. If the speed limit is greater than 35 miles an hour, then the bus driver has to give you 200 feet of amber light notice. Now, we covered 46.2-880 in the prior section. Take those warning amber light notices and compare it to the TE 306.1 as well as 46.2-880. You'll see some conflictions on that. Scrolling down, failure of a warning device to function on a school bus shall not relieve any person operating a motor vehicle. The next section after this one will be into the enforcement perspective, but it basically means, from how I read it, is that if you have to stop for a bus regardless. But then that kind of conflicts with the ability to know when to stop with signals and high speed and wide roads. Then right below that is a paragraph that basically says it's a class 3 misdemeanor against the bus driver if they fail to give you the proper warning times. So those two paragraphs kind of conflict with one another. Very redundant. Going to 1995, and then look prior to that to 1989. But 1995, C106, that is the earliest change we can find on this law. Clicking on that. Now this will show that in 1995, it still holds the 100 feet if it's under 35 miles per hour, or 200 feet if it's greater than 35 miles per hour warning. Right there. But because they did not change it in 1995, that means that that warning time holds all the way back to the 1989 law. So we'll keep that in mind for the next law coming up. So basically, the amber light or yellow light warning on a school bus has been the same since at least 1989. 46.2-871, maximum speed limit for school buses. What this law does is it sets a maximum speed limit for school buses to be 45 miles per hour, or the minimum speed allowable. On the interstate, I believe they allow them to go up to 60 miles per hour. Looking at the history of laws, we're going to go all the way back to 1994. C676, pull that up. And that is the year, 1994, where they allowed the buses, they increased the maximum speed limit of a bus from 35 miles an hour to 45 miles an hour. Again, go back to the 46.2-880 and also 46.2-1090. 1090 has had the same amber light notice since 1989, but in 1994 they increased the maximum speed for a bus by 10 miles per hour, which would increase the amount of footage you need to stop safely. Title 46.2-918, school buses to be routed so as to avoid necessity of pupils crossing divided highways. What this law states is that if a bus is to pick up a pupil or student for public school, private school, religious school, or any activities connected to those schools, that they are not to cross certain conditions of roads. Those conditions are as follows. 2 or more roadways separated by a physical barrier, like a curb barrier or a wall or anything along those lines. Barriers, also that. Or an unpaved area, so that'd be a flush grassy knoll that sits between a set of roadways. Or which have, and this one I'm still trying to find more about, 5 or more lanes, the center lane of which is a flush median marked for use by turning traffic only. Now that flush median marked with the turning lane only, I don't know if that constitutes a set of 2 solid lines. If it constitutes a solid line, dotted line, turn, then dotted line, solid line. Or even just a single solid line with a turn signal between two of them. If a child is to cross those conditions to be picked up by a bus, then a Class 1 misdemeanor can be issued. I do not know if it's strictly to the bus driver or to the people allocating for bus pickups, like the schedules and where the bus needs to that plan the bus route, the people that plan the bus route. We'll get more into Class 1 misdemeanors in the enforcement perspective section, which follows this.